Welcome to the Diva Details. Welcome to the Diva Details, where bold, confident women embrace life unapologetically. From love and sex to wellness and reinvention, we keep it raw, real, and powerful. No filters, no limits. Just fearless conversations to help you thrive. Let's dive in with Diva Mia.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Diva Mia. I hope you've had a wonderful week. If you would like to be a guest, the Diva Details, you're welcome to send me a message and you might be a guest on our show. So here we go. Today, we're going to cover healing from divorce. It's important to cover this in detail in a way that helps other people heal. I think that we will start off talking a little bit about the grief process. The grief process is a little tricky. It can be an emotional roller coaster for some people. So when you grieve after a divorce, you're going through grief almost as if it was the death of a spouse. There's a lot of denial at first. The first thing that happens when you go through a divorce is you deny that it's happening to you. You may go to bed at night, you wake up in the morning, and you're like, oh my gosh, did that actually happen? I think that everybody goes through the stages at their own pace, some people faster than others, but I think all the stages get covered. It may be that you're in denial for a week, 2 weeks. It may be that you're in denial for months, but the denial stage is challenging. When you go through denial, your reality, it just shifts and you have to recognize that you're no longer a part of that couple. The longer you were married before you got divorced, sometimes the stages affect you more. Some people were married for only a few years and it takes them a long time to recover from the divorce. Just like if it was the death of a spouse, there's a denial stage. The denial stage, it's rough. If you can get support during the denial stage, that's the best time to get it because denial is typically the first stage for everyone. A lot of people will not go and get help. It's the most important thing that you can do. If you weren't the one that decided, or maybe you were cheated on, there was some betrayal, etc., this is going to be rough for you to get through, and you're going to have to get some help. A lot of people think that they can go at it alone. This is one time in your life that the rug's going to be pulled out from underneath you for a lot of you. Some of you may be excited, some of you may be happy, but there's still a little bit of a denial stage. So this is the best time to go through and get some therapy. Now, we did have a divorce coach on here, and the divorce coach is very helpful. She can help you as far as taking you from where you are to where you want to be. There's other coaches for men as well. Divorce coaching is great, but you may also want a therapist because a lot of times we're in marriages that maybe weren't the right relationship for us. We need to analyze why we got there so we don't go there again. Getting a therapist is also very beneficial. Then I've also talked about maybe energy healers because your energy healer can help you just your flow better. It's self-care. It's trying to actually work on your space and make sure you feel good now and that you can self-regulate your nervous system because your nervous system may be a wreck. You've got to be able to talk about your feelings to someone. And here's the thing. A lot of people say, I'm not going to get a therapist. I'll just talk to my friends or my hairdresser or my coach or my personal trainer. But the problem is they're not really trained to handle that. And they might lead you astray. You're going to have to pay for some therapy and you're going to have to pay for some coaching, especially if you truly want to heal. There's a lot of people that don't heal and they don't do the work. And if you don't do the work, you're going to be in the same exact position next year as you are right now. And you don't want that. Some people, they just hope it'll go away and time will heal all things, as people say. But I will tell you that time doesn't. Time just delays the pain. I've met people that were divorced for 6 years, 8 years, and they're still stuck in their rut. They are still stuck in the grieving process, never got out, never healed, still blaming their ex for everything. And they haven't moved past the past. And when you get stuck in your past, you can't heal. You can't move into the future. Part of healing is also taking accountability for your part in the divorce. When you meet a man on a date and you listen to them talk and they say, yes, my ex was terrible. They did this, this, and this. But I was so great. They haven't healed. Men that complain about women nonstop, they haven't healed either. Because men, you have a part in this no matter what. Even if the ex cheated on you, you still had a hand. It may be that you saw signs and you ignore them, or, you picked wrong. What made you pick the wrong person to get married to? There's no excuse for cheating in any relationship ever. If a person does that, that says more about their character and their ethics and values than anything. What I'm saying is that in order for you to heal, you have to let it go. You have to move on, and you have to love yourself enough to forgive yourself, not just the other person. Forgiving the other person is important, but you got to forgive yourself in order to move on. That's a process. I think that's the hardest part, is forgiving yourself for choosing wrong, for selecting the wrong person, etc. It takes work. Anger is the next stage. Now, some people stay angry for a really long time. I think I went right over this stage. I didn't have a lot of anger. I was a little angry. I was a little bitter, but it was very early on. I went through denial in like a week or two, and then I went through anger. And by the time I was actually divorced, within a 60-day time frame, my anger was gone. My anger left, went through denial and anger, and even bargaining a little bit in 60 days. So in 60 days, I did anger, denial, and bargaining. My friend even took me to a rage room and I didn't even have any anger. Anger can last for some people for a very long time. And others, I'm not an angry person. It went through very fast for me, but some people, they hold on to that anger and rage. It may go dark for them for a while. The quicker you can let that go, the faster. I think I was only angry for a couple weeks. I let it go. But then the bargaining comes. The bargaining stage is where you're wondering to yourself, could I have done something different to make them stay? Could I have done something different to be a better husband or a better wife? And you bargain with yourself. But my bargaining was just thinking about, was there anything I could have done differently to change the situation? You bargain with yourself and you try to overanalyze and predict if there was something. This stage can last. It doesn't last for everybody. Some people just move right through it, but it can also last. And you can self-evaluate for a very long time. But I think that's actually a healthy thing. I think evaluating, okay, could I have done anything better? It also brings up things of the past of, wow, I put up with a lot of stuff I shouldn't have. But that's a real self-realization stage when you're going through this. And people go through a depression stage a lot of times. And the depression stage is where you just kind of go numb. And I don't know if everybody goes into depression. I think going numb is actually an okay thing if you really self-reflect. But the depression is where you just don't want to do a lot. You lose yourself. Now, some people get lost for years upon years upon years during the depression stage. They don't want to get out of bed. They don't want to function. They don't want to date anyone. They don't want to get out there and live. Depression stage is a real thing. Some people, their depression stage is delayed. The reason it's delayed is because what happens with a lot of people is when they get out of a divorce, they throw themselves into work, or they throw themselves into serving other people, or they throw themselves into hobbies or working out or whatever. And they do this in order to avoid the pain. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't work out. I love working out, but you shouldn't do it to an extreme that you're avoiding the internal work. You shouldn't be going and volunteering all your time because you're avoiding looking within. And a lot of people do this. They avoid looking within, and it delays the healing. When that happens, after you get to a point where you take a pause and you actually look within, because it always comes, you might go into severe depression. I recommend you go through the depression or the numbing stage as quickly as possible, because the longer you're in it, some people get into severe depression. But if you can just go numb and look inside, figure out what you want to do, who you want to be, and how you can heal, and let the feelings out during the depression stages, let them all out, release them, you'll go through it much quicker. But remember, if you see somebody that came out of a divorce and they're at the gym like 6 hours a day, or all they do is volunteer their time, or they act so happy, but it's kind of odd, they're probably being an avoidant of looking inward and going through the depression stage, because everybody does it. But the faster you get to it early on, I think the less painful it is too. Because if you wait a year or two and you distract yourself, it's almost like the pain gets bigger. I think anytime you distract yourself from feeling the feelings you need to be, it becomes like a cancer or swells up inside you. So get rid of that depression stage as soon as possible. And then once you're through the depression stage, you actually get to move on to acceptance. Acceptance is wonderful. Acceptance is a stage where you get to realize it's over. This is also the stage where you typically forgive the other person. It is the best part of the healing, but you also need to forgive yourself. I think for me, I forgave my spouse and his mistress a long time ago. I didn't but I forgave and I let it go. However, I think for me, forgiving myself I think of myself as a smart person, not seeing signs earlier and things like that, and not leaving a relationship before it got to this point, and putting up with things I shouldn't have put up with. Those are things that took me a while to forgive in myself. I think once I got to the point where I actually forgave myself, that's where the real growth came. I was stuck. I was accepting. I was kind of actually happy the divorce was over. But at the same time, I had difficulty forgiving myself. I think I'm tougher on myself than I should be sometimes. And, sometimes it's good for business to be tough on yourself, but it's not so good when you're trying to forgive yourself. So just remember to forgive yourself, because forgiveness is extremely important. When we go through a divorce, that we have to realize this is grieving. It is just like healing from a death. So the same steps happen if you lose a spouse. The difference is the person still exists, which makes recovery sometimes take longer. Because if you're in an area where you see the person often, maybe you're in a small town and you see them over and over again, that will complicate your recovery. If you have kids, it can slow down your recovery. Because if you're seeing the person every other week and they cheated on you, it's almost like reopening a wound every time you see them. Or if you see them and they're picking up your kids with the person that they cheated with, oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. That would be like taking a knife in your back and twisting it. That is a rough thing to go through. So you definitely need to get help with this. You definitely need to get some type of therapist or divorce recovery coach or something. You really need to work on it. You need to find the right one. You need to find someone that's open, that's sympathetic, that handles a lot of people that go through divorce. You're just going to have to realize you were in a bad relationship. It didn't work out the way you expected it to, but hopefully you can learn some lessons from it and grow from it. I mean, life is about lessons and life is about learning, but you got to go through it to grow through it, as I say. I think that healing from divorce is sometimes very complicated, even more so than healing from a death. So you just have to understand that newly divorced people, it's a new world. If you're trying to throw yourself out there into dating in order to get over the last person, that's just going to open you up to pain. I remember when I was going through the divorce and I got divorced, it was like I did it so quickly that I took a breath at the end. And the first thing I wanted to do was distract myself. I wanted to go out there and date a lot and do some things on those dates. Mentally, I couldn't do it because it's just not my personality, but I was hurting and I thought it would make me feel better. Then I got terrified because I was like, I can't sleep with another man because I'm afraid I was going to cry. So I had to go through that. I was like, I was so traumatized that I was like, how am I going to be with somebody else after being with one person for 28 years? It's a very big adjustment for people to make. So realize throwing yourself out there into another relationship and sleeping with someone else just to get over your divorce is not really a good way to go. You got to look inward. Don't distract yourself with people, with hobbies, with charity, with work, with anything, because the distraction will just make the pain worse. I really think you need the coach. Coaching is wonderful. The therapy will help you make sure you don't repeat the same mistakes in the future and by analyzing your past. But the coach will make sure you get over what you're going through right now, as well as the energy healer. The energy healer just smooths out your vibration, if you will. You can manifest emotionally and physically. So if you don't heal these wounds, you can get a health issue. You can get an autoimmune. You can get cancer. These wounds, they stick around. If you're not going through and getting help, you may have a problem. It can create a physical problem, not just a mental health problem and not just an emotional problem. Something like 60% of the divorces happen due to infidelity, although most people say that it's probably even higher than that. Because typically when somebody starts detaching from a spouse, they've already attached to someone else. They were flirting with somebody at first, or they were talking to them in ways they shouldn't have. When they start doing that, the natural progression of your mind is to start detaching from the person that you're with. When that starts to occur, you may be emotionally cheating before you're actually physically cheating. The emotional cheating helps you detach from your current spouse or partner. When that happens, it's going to change and shift what's going on. And if you're the one that got cheated on, it actually causes trauma. The trauma is an experience that when people go through it, some say it's worse than death. Some people say it's like a million razor blades on your body. Every little part hurts and you don't know how to handle it. And you don't know how to recover from it. Again, why therapy is so important. Because it has this huge neurological impact. People compare it to grief of a widowhood, but it's worse because the person that you trusted violated all your trust. The person that vowed to love you forever violated all that trust. So there's a lot of shame that goes along with it. Not just the person that cheated, but the person that gets cheated on. They're embarrassed. They can't believe that someone else cheated on them. They look inside. Was I not good enough in bed? Was I not nice enough? Was I not this? And honestly, it wasn't you. Because the people that cheat, they tend to have a propensity for cheating, for lying, for stealing. They tend to have an ethical, a gray area when it comes to ethics, morals, and values. So it's not you. They're not, if they cheated on you, they're probably going to cheat on the person they left you for. So they're just cheaters. That's just who they are. But we, as the ones that get cheated on, and since I got cheated, I can say the same. We do carry a little bit of shame at first because we're embarrassed. We can't believe they did what they did. And then what tends to happen is the person that cheated on you makes up all kinds of stories about you and just to make himself or herself look better. So then you have rage and you get angry. And it makes you so mad because the person that cheated on you just makes up stories and lies about you. Well, here you go. If they were willing to cheat on you, what makes you think they're not willing to lie about you? It's just who they are. So realize cheaters are also liars. And they go around and they tend to tell stories to whomever will listen. The people that will listen to a person that cheated and a person that lies, then they're probably not the type of people I want to be hanging out with anyway, because they're gullible. If they don't know me for my character, then they just don't really know me. I obviously wasn't close enough to them. So I just let those people go too. So don't take it too deeply or don't be too concerned with the people that the cheater lies to about you, because if they don't know who you are, that's okay. If they want to listen to a cheater and a liar, that's okay too. Just let them go. Let them be. Don't worry about it. You got more things to worry about. You got to take care of you right now. You got to take care of your health. You got to have just 3 or 4 people around you that support you. That's all you need. And that support system will be helpful, even though you're still going to go get therapy, but you need that support system to get through. So don't worry about the shame. I don't care what other people think. Don't worry about what other people say, because if they're lying about you, they just are liars. It's okay. You know who you are. You know your value. You know your worth. You know you're a good person. So let it go. After that, so after you get through the shame and the rage, the trust issue is a big one. You're going to not trust people for a while. You're probably only going to want to have 2 or 3 people that you really trust around you. Now, make sure these people are really empathetic people, but empathy has its limits, because if all you do is cry and talk about your divorce forever to them, they're going to feel like they're your therapist. So work that out with your therapist and have them there as a backup when you need them for a little bit of support. But the trust issue is huge. You're looking at people and you're like, how do I know this person's not going to violate my trust as well? Now, if you start dating too soon, I think the distrust will reel its head a lot earlier. Because for me, when I was dating, I didn't trust anyone. I probably should have waited till at least 6 months after my divorce, maybe a year, but I went out probably 3 months and did a couple dates, and I didn't trust anyone. So by the time I reached 6 to 9 months, actually about 9 months after my divorce, I went out with an ex that I had dated previously. You know, it was healing in some ways because it allowed me to open myself up to someone I had been with before and trust them. That was nice because I think I was missing a huge part in my soul of being able to trust people. Heck, even being able to trust myself. I mean, he was a gracious man and understood what I was going through. And he was just so sweet. So being able to trust is baby steps. It takes you a while to get back into it. Now I feel like I could trust a person again because not everyone is your ex. And there's some really, really solid, good people out there. But it's baby steps, especially if you've been married more than once, because some people are married 2, 3, 4 times. They might have been cheated on in every marriage. That you need to work with your therapist to why you keep picking the same type of people that are willing to cheat. Because honestly, we have accountability in that part, right? Because we pick the ones that maybe aren't the most honest and ethical. Then you also may have some body image issues. If you've been married for a long time, you're like, oh crap, I need to nip and tuck here, or I need to lose some weight, or I need to take an extra 30 pounds off. You need to work on your health and physical, because what happens is when you go out there and if you're dating and you're wanting to be intimate with somebody, you're not going to want to be intimate until you get your body image issues fixed. So realize that's part of the aftermath of the divorce. You got to work through that. Once you get that worked out, then you can actually heal as well. The emotional healing is so very important, especially if there was infidelity, because I think as women, we're like, "Ugh, was I just not cute enough? Was I just not fun enough? Was I just not sweet enough?" And we beat ourselves up so much. And the reality is you got to let it go, because you know what? You were enough. You were enough. And you put up with probably more than you should have. Because a lot of times the people that cheat were also verbally abusive before they actually cheated, because they were probably already emotionally checked out. So when they emotionally check out, they turn into verbally abusive partners to see if they can push you away because they're already cheating. So when people are verbally abusive like that, then we get defensive and we're like questioning our sanity. And then we realize later on, well, they were cheating. It wasn't you. It wasn't you physically. It wasn't your personality. It just was, because that's who they are. They felt like they needed something or someone else to give them supply or power or whatever it is. And here's the thing, ladies, men that cheat, they don't typically cheat with somebody better looking. Sometimes they do, but usually they cheat with somebody not so good looking, someone that they can like lord over, or be king over. If men will need that feeling of superiority, and they're just not getting it at home, because at home, you're trying to run a tight ship and take care of the kids and everything else. Sometimes they go out because of that. They need a lord or feel like they're king. They tend to get someone less intelligent or less good looking. It makes them feel superior. Let them go. If that's what they need, let them go. Let them go. The next thing is, you got to realize that there's going to be a huge ripple effect, especially if there's an infidelity. There's going to be a ripple effect in the family. There's going to be a ripple effect in the children. When people cheat and it gets out, it can devastate children. It always gets out. Look at the Coldplay concert. That went worldwide in a night. We talk about the spouse that just got slapped in the face with, "Hey, your husband's cheating on you," and it's the world news. But what about the children who now have to go to school and get teased about their father or their mother cheating on? That really affects their self-esteem. They're going to have abandonment issues, even if the other partner's around, because basically when a partner cheats, they're not just cheating on the spouse, they're cheating on the kids too. And I know this may cut, but it's true, because they're taking time away from their children to go have an affair with someone else. So instead of spending their time with their children, they go have an affair and skip out on the kids. I know my ex did. The kids were around. He hadn't seen the kids for a while, and he took off to have an affair and then said it was work, but he left so he could go sleep around. He hadn't seen me for a while either, because he was already checked out. He's taking time away from his children to be with someone else, and it will affect their self-esteem. So just realize that you may need to get your children into therapy or listen to them extra. Now, I will say, don't baby them too much. And I was a little guilty of this in the beginning, is I really dove in to give them extra support. And I even let my youngest sleep in my bed for a really long time just to help him get over his abandonment issues. But in the long run, they need to learn how to self-regulate too. Part of life is learning how to self-regulate your nervous system, because if you don't, when you become an adult, let's say you're spoiled your whole life or everybody does everything for you, by the time you become an adult, you can't handle the real world, because the real world's a little tough. You're going to have stuff come at you that you weren't expecting. If you can't self-regulate your nervous system, you're not going to know how to behave. And that's how mental disorders start. You may snap. Or you need a safe space. Like they keep telling these college kids, you need a safe space. No, there's no safe spaces in the real world. Okay, this is just life. So learn to self-regulate and adjust and become more adaptive and resilient when things happen. That's part of life. I will tell you, going through a divorce, and I know I'm smiling, but going through a divorce will make you very adaptive. It will make you very resilient, stronger than you've ever been. It's an amazing journey. It's a tough journey. But when you come out the other side and you rediscover who you are, and remember, and I'm going to say remember your self-worth, because you've always had self-worth. You remember your self-worth. You remember who you are as a person. You're going to feel blessed that you came through it on the other side and you get back to who you are. It's going to be an amazing journey that you should be grateful for. I know it might be tough if you're at the beginning, but believe me and trust me that when you're on the other side of that mountain that you're going to have to cross, which is your divorce and going through the healing journey, When you get to the other side, it's going to be a beautiful paradise because it is a wonderful thing to grow through a divorce. It is a wonderful thing to come out the other side. So if I can give you any hope, if you're going through it, I hope that is it, because you will be happier. You will feel like you can take on the world, and you will get back to who you were as a person and feel your worth again and know your value. That's an amazing thing. Here's the other thing is healing does not equal moving on. A lot of people are going to tell you, you just need to go find a man if you're a woman. And if you're a man, they'll say, you just need to go find a woman. The problem is if you're not healed and you move on to another person, you're going to marry or date the exact same person you just married to, because that's your habit. And that's the type of people you like. You tend to attract the same women or the same men over and over again. And if you do that, you're going to have the same outcome. It's called doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. So you have to rebuild your self-trust and peace first, and you have to give yourself that time. The issue is that once you get to the point where you have your self-trust and your peace, you may not want another person ever. And that's okay. I'm here to tell you, you can be pretty darn happy all by yourself. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like the comfort of a man once in a while. I do like the safety that some men provide. However, sometimes you feel much happier just alone in your own peace, in your own setting. So you find your peace, you find yourself, you find your happiness and your joy. And when you get to that place, then you decide what you want. You don't have to go for another man ever or right away. You could take a couple of years, and I don't care what age you are. I don't care if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s. There's always going to be men out there. So you don't need to rush. There's no fear of missing out on this one. There's no FOMO. Because there's always going to be people. We've got billions of people out there. So just remember that. Once you forgive them, and once you can finally forgive yourself, you're going to have personal freedom like you've never had. You're going to feel free. You're going to be able to feel like you're going to take on the world, and it's an empowering feeling. So remember, forgiveness, it usually takes a while, at least to forgive yourself and forgive them. But once you get there, you have so much freedom and you feel so good. But don't skip the steps. Everybody touches on it, even if it's for a little bit. But you jumping into a new relationship because you're numb and depressed is not the way to go. You jumping into a new relationship because you're angry and you just want to piss off your ex-partner is not the way to go, because you're not healed and you're just causing more internal damage emotionally to yourself. So do the work, do the emotional work, do the spiritual work. And then realize that once you get through all this emotional work and the spiritual work, you're going to come out the other side and thrive. Now, I do want to talk a little bit about taking accountability. So when you're going through healing, you're going to take a little bit of accountability for things that happen. Now, I don't want you to blame yourself for them cheating. That's on them. But there were signs. Most people that get cheated on, in fact, I'd say 95% of people or more that get cheated on, there were signs that somebody wasn't happy in the relationship. You weren't, they weren't, and there was strife. A lot of times when people are getting ready to cheat, they create more strife because they're emotionally cheating already with the person, and so they start fights just for the heck of starting fights. So they can say, see, that person's not so nice to me. So they'll create strife in the marriage in order to make it worse. Or maybe it's just guilt. Sometimes I think people feel guilty about cheating, so they create more problems, or they yell more often, etc. So realize that it's not you, but there is accountability, because sometimes we allow people to treat us badly, and you got to own that. You need to learn boundaries that does not allow people to treat you in a way that's not serving, that's not respectful, that's not. You should never be yelled at by your spouse. I mean, you can raise your voice here and there and get energized, but if a person's yelling at you on a daily basis, that's emotional abuse. You need to have boundaries. So people shouldn't be raising and screaming at their partner. That's supposed to be the person you love. That's supposed to be the person you spend a life together with. You should treat them better than the people you see on the street or your work partners, because we're supposed to be the ones you love, the ones you care about. That should have been a boundary. For me, I should have been saying, no, I'm not going to allow it. It was like the red line that kept getting crossed, over and over again. Drew a red line and they kept walking over it. If you draw a red line and the person that you're with keeps walking over it, you need to make a decision. Are you going to stay or are you going to go? Or are you going to get therapy? Are you going to work on it? Something has to change because you can't continue to allow that. Because if you do, then when you get divorced, you need to take accountability for not doing something about it. That's the truth. But you've also got to break the cycle of being a victim. You got to break the cycle of self-blame, but you also have to break the cycle of being a victim. Now, I was never a victim, but I do a lot of self-blame. I blame myself when I shouldn't be. It tends to be one or two ways. Some people come out as, oh, poor me, poor me, poor me. I get cheated on, my life is over, blah, and they get stuck in that. Or they go into the cycle of self-blame so much that they don't forgive themselves. So you need to get over both of those cycles, whichever side of the coin you are, whether you're a self-blamer or a victim, both of those cycles are bad because they don't help you fully heal. So get out of the victimhood and take accountability, but don't overtake accountability for things that aren't yours to own. And then once you take accountability, realize those were just signs that you need to have new boundaries and you will never let it happen again. Once you let go of the past, you get to design the life you want. You get to design your future. You get to live the way you want. Think about how amazing that is for you. You get to live and grow in a way that you never, ever expected. You get to become the person that you want to be. You get to rebuild your life with confidence and hope and treasure every moment with you and your children. If you still have children at home and your family and your pets, and create a new family and a new identity, a new independence. And it may be that your family is without a partner for a long time. It may be that a year from now you find a perfect person. Who knows? But you don't need someone else to validate you. You need to have your own confidence, your own joy, your own self-worth, your own vibrations, and knowledge that you're amazing. Every one of us was given so many gifts on this planet, and we don't use them enough. But when you really go inside and you go through a stage of numbness and self-reflection, you get to see those gifts again, and they come out. You get to rebuild you with confidence and identity and independence, and the healing that happens will make you more powerful and stronger than you've ever been. It'll make you stronger than you were before you even got married. Because when you got married, you had some weaknesses because you chose someone that you may have thought in the back of your head, like I did, wasn't the right one. And it may not have been right in the forefront when it happened, but maybe somewhere your gut instinct said, maybe I should wait, or maybe this isn't the right thing to do. And now you'll never let that happen again, because when your intuition tells you it's wrong, you're going to listen this time. So when you survive divorce, when you survive infidelity and the grief that goes with it, you're going to be stronger. You're going to be wiser. You're going to be more self-loving than you've ever been. That is an amazing place to be. You're going to be happier. Don't be afraid to ask for help and let people in. Sharing your grief is an amazing thing to do, and people are willing to help. Listen to some of these podcasts about people going through divorce. I have a few of them, and that will help. And I say when obstacles arise, take them on as quickly as possible. Move through it as fast as possible, because if you sit there and you let fear control you, it's going to take you longer to heal. Don't let fear own you. You own yourself. Have trust in yourself and faith that things will work out. Don't let the fear in. And you got to be willing to make mistakes, okay? When you just go for things, you're going to stumble. You're going to trip because it's like you're going to a goal and you're running, and every once in a while the sidewalk pops up and you fall on your face. But it's okay because you're moving in the right direction. If you stand there and say, oh, that goal is really far away, I don't know if I can make it, you're going to run around in circles or just stand there and do nothing. You're never going to get anywhere. And then 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you're going to be one of those people I run into that's still in the same part of their grief because they let fear control them. Don't do that. Don't be that person. Now, once you've gone through grief, there is a different journey that a lot of people go through that is like a circular revisiting of the grief. You may go through another numb stage. And in fact, some of the grieving stages cycle back, but there's another numb stage. And the numb stage this is kind of a pleasant numb stage, if you will. This is where you've gone through all the stages of grief. You've gone through forgiveness, but now you're questioning your identity. Okay. And they don't talk about after you've healed, what's next. A lot of people that say, let's get you healed. And then, well, what's next? And I say the numb stage. And it's a stage where a lot of people go through it. and they're questioning their life's purpose and they're questioning their identity and they don't know what path to go forward in. And this numb stage for me lasted about 3 or 4 weeks. So that was a long time for me. Now, some people it could last for 6 months or a year. And the numb stage, it's after the shock of the divorce, after you've gone through some of the healing, this numbness can last for a little bit. And I actually enjoy the numb stage because it's a stage where I gave the space and the time to look inward and say, what do I want to do next? Who do I want to be? What goals do I want to set? And it wasn't a stage where I was doing a lot. It was a stage where I took time to myself and analyzed who I want to be, came up with a new life purpose. Because when you go through divorce, part of your purpose gets destroyed because it was your marriage was part of your purpose. So come up with a new purpose and figure out a path forward. And it needs to be a big one. I don't want you to play small. I want you to find a big path, a big goal, something you really want to do that's for you and for your new family. Now, your new family could just be you and your cat, or it could be just you and your dog, or you and your kids. But your new purpose needs to encompass all of that. It needs to be there for you, something that you can grow in, something that you can maybe bring your children in to help you on. But that purpose should be so big that it's inspiring, that it lights a fire under you, that when you think about it, you light up. You can tell people about it, what you're doing, maybe writing a book, maybe you're taking on a new hobby. You want to be the pickleball champion of whatever town you're in, whatever it is, something that lights you up, something that inspires you, that gives you the reason to wake up in the morning. And this numb stage that I'm talking about, it's not a depression stage. Now, they do say if you stay in any numb stage for too long, you could get depressed. But I never got depressed in a numb stage because I look inward, and you really need to look inside and say, I am worthy. And your self-worth should really shine here. But the numb stage does give you the time and the space to think. And it's just, some people do their thinking when they meditate, and I'm not a big meditator. So the numb stage for me is a nice clarity stage. You may also mourn a little bit more after you've gone through your grieving stage. But if you have a good purpose, that stage is not going to last. So when you come out of your numb stage, you're going to have a strong purpose. Okay. You're going to have an idea of what you want to do, but you're going to have no idea how to do it. It's a disorganization or a realignment stage. It's a stage where you've gone through the divorce, you've healed, but now you've got a new purpose and you have no idea how to get there. This stage is kind of disorganized. Your head may spin. You're like, what do I do? So what you do in this stage is you make a lot of lists, and you're going to list out what you want to do. And under each heading of what you want to do, you're going to make a list of everything you need to do to get it. So if you want to lose 50 pounds as part of your purpose, you're going to make a list of the things you're going to do to execute that. If you want to start a new business, write down the 100 things that you're going to have to do it. And every single day, you have to get one of those things done off the list. Now, it may be that you make the list. I need to set up a corporation. I need to make $50,000. No, those are too big of things. You need to break down into minute details everything that you want to get done. This is going to help with you realigning your thought process. It's going to help with your decision making. It's going to help you figure out how to do things in a more clear path forward. This is a very important part of the process because you've got this big purpose. You've got this big why now. You've got this big goal of who you are. You're empowered. Now let's line up how you're going to get there. So a lot of goal setting, a lot of detail on what you need to do to get there. And with all the AI out there, you can also reach out to AI and say, what steps do I need to do to start a business in textiles or t-shirt design or write a book? How do I write a book? What steps do I need to take? Grab those steps, just start building your list. And every day, move towards that. Every day, in fact, I like to do it at night. I write down 6 things, my 6 most important things I have to do the next day. I make sure those are next to my bed. So as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm not jumping on my phone, which I used to do when I was going through the divorce a lot. I'm not jumping on my phone when I wake up. Because I usually wake up 4 o'clock is my preferred time because then I get a nice workout in before the kids get up. But when I wake up, I get started on my list right away. So by 6 o'clock, when the kids wake up, I already have half my list done. Sometimes I get the whole list done in the first 2 hours. Depends on how the list is shaping up, whether I can do it when I'm walking on the treadmill or if I have to do other things. So remember, get your 6 most important things, leave them next to your bed, and you're going to see your life change in the right direction. Again, you're over the mountain, but now you're shooting for that goal. Okay. Then after you get organized and you start doing your steps, your action items, you're going to go through a growth stage. It is amazing to go through the growth stage. The growth stage is great because you're realigning with who you are, realigning with your life's purpose, and finding that you can do everything on your own. It's fine to have a partner, great. But isn't it great that you know you can do everything on your own? Isn't it a great feeling that you know you can support yourself financially, physically, emotionally, mentally, sexually? You can support yourself. There are ways. So your path forward is a great thing to get to when you get to the growth stage, because every day you're going to wake up and you're going to thrive. That's a great place to be. Nothing will stop you. Your health, your wealth, your mental health, your finances, you got this. You got this, girl, as they say. You can do anything. Remember that thriving stage comes right after the growth stage, after you're done growing. And you now got your habits in place because you're doing this every day. So it's habitual. It may take a while. Depends on what business you're in. Depends on what your goals are. I mean, if you have 50 pounds to lose, it might take you 6 months. If you want to compete in a competition or do a marathon or a triathlon, those things may take some time, but you got to get the consistency down in the growth stage. And what happens is you start thriving. You see, after 60 to 90 days of doing the daily work every single day, you start to thrive. And the path gets clearer. This is about accepting your new reality. This is you. You get to grow in such a great way that your new reality is rock star. Integration, thriving, this is a great stage. And the next stage is success. Success is a wonderful place to be because you've done it. You got there. You did things you didn't think were possible. Now don't stop. A lot of people, they get into success and they stop there. And they think, oh, I made it. So I'm making, I don't know, whatever it is, $50,000 a month, or I'm doing whatever it is, I lost 50 pounds and now I look great. And then they stop. And then they gain their weight back, or they stop working and then they stop making money. Once you get to success, that's not the destination. I think people need to move forward to the next step, which is significance. And significance is where you're doing things that you didn't even think possible. So maybe you lose 50 pounds and now you're going to compete in a bodybuilding competition. That's a significant step. And then after you get to that body competition, maybe you're going to teach other people how to be bodybuilders. Now you're doing significance. You're assisting and you're helping the world be a better place. Or maybe you started a company and it made so much money that you can now, I don't know, give money to homeless people or set up a foundation. That's significance. And from significance, you grow into a person that you don't even recognize. It's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. This is my hope for you. Think about where you came from. Think about all you've done. Think about where you can go. Then after you get into significance, there's another step. There's legacy building. Legacy building is where you've taken your pain and your grief and you turned it into healing. And then you turned it into growth. And then you turned it into thriving and success. And then you were significant because you were helping others. And now you're creating a legacy. A legacy is one that other people will follow in your footsteps, whether it's your children, whether it's aunts, uncles, parents, whether it's just your neighbor or someone that you don't even know. So people create legacies. And it's the last step of true human transformation. And once you get to the point where you're making a legacy, your significance that you created from all that you've grown through, and I say grown through because it was growth, it will be amazing. And you get to this legacy point and you take your children there with you. And they get to the point and they see, wow, you're strong. You're unstoppable. That's the goal. I wish that on everyone. I truly do. It doesn't matter if you have a 9-to-5 job. You can create a legacy with that. You can make your job the happiest place for all the people you work with. You can do things better than anyone else because you've grown through so much. Maybe you created your company on the side. Maybe you don't. Maybe you enjoy being a janitor. And every time you see the kids, you give them a high five and you cheer up the whole school. That's a legacy because there's a kid down there that's maybe sad and depressed and you're going to lift them up too. I hope that the people that have gone through these journeys don't stay in their grief. They don't get stuck, that they move past this and grow, and they move past this and have a legacy because your life was meant to be significant. You were meant to be so much more. You were meant to have and hold and heal. You were meant to have everything. You were meant to be amazing. So I hope that you recognize today that you are more than what happened to you, that once you get to the point that you're healed, you will find your purpose and your significance and hopefully your success. And I wish all the best for you. I wish all the blessings. I wish all the healing, and I wish all the hope in the world. This is Diva Mia. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a wonderful life. I hope this helped. I hope this helped a lot. I hope you can take this and grow in the future. Take care of yourself.
Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We love hearing from you. Visit thedivadetails.com to connect. See you next week for more.
Diva Details podcast and website are intended solely for informational and entertainment purposes. The content provided does not constitute professional, medical, financial, or legal advice. We are not licensed medical practitioners, financial advisors, or legal professionals. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Any financial topics discussed are based on personal opinions and experience and should not be considered professional advice. The content provided does not constitute legal advice. The Diva Details and its affiliate contributors and guests are not liable for any losses or damages arising from the use of our content. The opinions expressed in the podcast are solely those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any affiliated organization, sponsors, or partner. All facts discussed in the podcast are researched and accurate to the best of our knowledge at the time of recording. Information may change over time. No guarantees are made regarding the accuracy, completeness, or reliability of any statements or opinions presented. It is the responsibility of the listener to verify any and all facts that may influence their decision. This podcast is for information and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered professional advice.